I'm Rachel Trengove. I work as Program Manager with Upper North Farming Systems, and I am facilitating the Upper North Farming Systems group for the Predator Control and Productivity Network with PIRSA, funded by MLA, PIRSA and Livestock SA. So the project has basically funded us to do one workshop per year, and as part of that we were given the opportunity to do a simple trial. So the simple trial that we selected was around flock profiling. So in 2022 we had a small group of farmers who came together and learnt about flock profiling at a workshop. They continued on to do their testing. They set their breeding objectives and identified traits that they wanted to improve on through genetic selections. So those farmers have come back together this year, 3 years later, and done their testing again and come together as a small group again and shared their results and have been guided through the expertise of Andrew Michael and Anne Collins to interpret those results and see what progress they've made through those selections.
Andrew Michael from Snowdown, family run business here. We run Leas and White Suffolk and Pole Merino studs, and my involvement here is basically helping producers with understanding genomics and flock profiling. So flock profiling is basically just measuring the genes of the animals and taking out any outside influences, because the power of genomics and having that as a commercial outcome for sheep producers, to me, is an equivalence of soil tests in the cropping operation or any technology. And it's leading technology that allows people to select and know where their flock sits.
I'm Anne Collins. I work as a livestock consultant. Introducing flock profiling as a tool to producers has really opened a lot of producers' eyes to what they can do and what sort of levers they're able to pull by using genetic selection. Ultimately, the flock's performance will come down to the management and the environment and what the season is doing, but if you don't have the genetic potential there underlying your flock, you can't maximise your opportunity, basically.
And there's no doubt some have been surprised, and I think the big thing is that it's a combination of doing it 4 years ago and then doing it again now. They could then benchmark the genetic gains they've made. A lot of them had no idea where they sat as far as the genetic merit of either fleece weight, carcass or whatever.
For some producers, it's just really confirmed that they're on the right track and they're happy with what they're doing. And then we've had some flocks that have really actually changed direction totally and thought, we've been buying our rams forever just on visual selection and it hasn't really got us where we want to be. So now that we've got this information, we can actually be more informed when we go and buy rams and actually focus on what's going to work well for us.
Caleb Girdham, Melrose Mixed Enterprise here, about 1,500 breeding sheep. So when we first started our profiling, we were, just very interested in the muscle and fat side of things. I guess that's where we started, and we've just built on it from there. With our breeding objectives, we are more defined now. So with our ram selection, we've talked to our stud supplier, and we know before the sale, we look at the data and picking rams on that. Moving forward, I think once we get the specific traits that we're up to scratch, I think then we'll want to move on to a few, like some visual traits that we can subjectively hone in on, i.e. feet structure and probably more structure related.
Matt Nottle, mixed farmer at Bullaroo Centre in the mid-north. 3 years ago we did our first round of testing on 1-year-old lots of ewe hoggets. Then we did it again this year on the same age group. We're trying to hold our wool where it is and push the meat side of the merino. Eye muscle, fat depth, post-weaning weights. Some of that wool probably lagging a little bit, but I suppose keep in mind that national flock average takes in New South Wales and Victoria, which is largely fine wool. You've got to be a little bit careful with the numbers that come back. For what we do in our environment, it's sat pretty good. Since the first round, we have stopped crossbred sheep or lambs production. And because we've been pushing the meat side of the merino, we decided that we'd simplify the system and just focus on merino and stop with the White Suffolk cross. The more we measure, the easier the decisions get. We can get on the front foot a bit and follow the market as it's happening or before it's happening.
I'm Kim Zeus. We live up here at Christabrook in the mid-north. We're running around 600 ewes. In 2023, we sort of jumped at the opportunity to find a little bit more about what the genetics were in our sheep. So the thing that surprised us a lot was the change that we saw in one generation. When we selected the rams using the ASBVs, we could actually see the change in eye muscle depth and fat depth just in one generation, and it could actually change more than 15%. yeah, I feel like that was a really important thing that we saw, and it was really surprising that you could get the result that quickly. Probably now we're a lot more informed and can make better decisions when we go to select rams. So we always had this focus that we wanted to go non-mules with our merinos, and we always just visually selected for rams, but now we're sort of using the ASBVs to select for that trait. So hopefully we can do that next year. In terms of other traits, like we're trying to join up ewe lambs, and whether there's a trait that specifically looks at maturity in ewes, I feel like that could be helpful, but also like intramuscular fat, the IMF as well.
Tom Wecker, we're at Brinkworth where we have our cropping enterprise, and then we've got a property up there at Orroroo. So we run a self-replacing merino flock, around about the 1500 ewes mark, depending on seasons. So the second time we did it, it was a bit of a surprise that what we actually had been aiming for in ram selections had actually come through within 4 years. So originally when we did the first profile, our meat traits sort of probably shined out a little bit, and then we found that we had to focus on our wool. So yeah, 4 years later, we've just done the flock profile from our 2024 drop. I think we've increased our clean fleece weight by probably a third in 4 years, which I thought was really good, and we've still maintained some of the other traits that we originally had, I guess. But yeah, one that stood out to me was probably worm egg count was quite high, and we're in a dry climate, and sometimes we think that we probably haven't got worms, but because we're non-mulesed, we've been non-mulesed for probably 8 years in our ewes and 15 years in our wethers. That's probably definitely a trait that we will target from now on for worms. That was one that stood out to me.
It's quite a good investment for a flock lot to do. The flock profiles basically will cost you about $700 to $800. Involves taking DNA samples from a random selection of 20 of your young ewes, which is quite a simple process. At the moment, flock profiling is only available to merinos, but sheep genetics are working in the background, and within the next 2 years it will definitely be available to other maternal and terminal breeds as well.
Yeah, I can see that we'll use profiling every probably 2 to 3 years to make sure we're heading in the direction we want to. And also, as markets change, we'll be able to follow that as well with what we're chasing.
It's pretty low cost for what you're getting, and you can use that data. You can watch the evolution of your flock in the numbers as well as, you know, visually. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer, yeah.
I feel that it potentially could be a marketing tool if we start to sell a portion of our ewes off each year. Like, I feel like it could be something that other producers might be interested in as we go forward. But also I think it helps inform our ram selection, so I feel like it's important if we continue with that.
This has just come in good time now. Like, we're probably, I wouldn't want to have done it a bit further out. We're sort of within that 4 year range, but I think 3 years would be ideal. From now on, we'll definitely be flock profiling.